million, and through this it was able to be distributed through 128 youth-led projects. And well, there was some impact to some that participated in terms of employment, and livelihoods were really improved, and even the crime rate of some of those, most especially those areas with youth involved in crime, we saw a drastic decline in crime rate, which was put out there. Well, to further investigate this cause, I'm joined in studio with Andrew Kalema, and he is he has an association. He's actually is from the UN Association. He's a youth actually, and we're here to see from his experience, his exposure, because he's been to various youth engagements in various countries. We talk about sharing ideas with youth from different countries, and he has quite this amazing experience. I think, I believe he has something. He has a message for the youth, those that are anticipating, or those that are hungry to make a difference in their life, most especially from the economic perspective. Andrew, good morning. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Good morning, Jay.
Yeah.
Nice to be here also. I'm so glad. I'd like to appreciate the viewers for turning into Smart TV. This is amazing, and when it comes to the young people, we are more vibrant, we as the UN Association of Uganda, so that we can impact, because we have to notice that young people now they are catering for about 78% when it comes to Uganda, and now they are the one of the youngest population from within the world.
Exactly.
Yeah, so when it comes to any processes, decision making, young people have to be at the center stage in order for them to be vibrant and also to participate meaningfully.
Yes. Now, very interesting in that. Now, before we proceed into any further discussion, maybe you can just tell us about what the UN Association is all about.
Okay, thank you. The UN Association of Uganda is affiliated to the World Federation of the United Nations. That's called WFUNA, and it's registered in Uganda. So basically what the UN Association of Uganda does is more of advocacy, as well as promoting young people's rights, human rights, because one of our major focus area is youth engagement, ensuring there is meaningful youth participation, and also having an aspect of promoting human rights. It's centered around because we work with persons with disabilities, because we have to also know that persons with disabilities, their rights are as intrinsic as the basic human rights.
Basic human rights.
Yeah, so basically we are there to bridge a gap between the young people, the government, and the UN.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, of course, that brings me to some discussion here. How are you associating with the stakeholders, including government agencies, talking about non-government organizations, community-based organizations, to implement youth-centric economic development programs in Uganda?
Okay, thank you. So one of the things that we do as the UN associations is that our thematic theme always focuses on partnerships. So you're going to notice that we do not only partner with local agencies or UN agencies, but we also partner with other UN associations. Currently, we are working with the UN Association of Finland, and we are doing a program. One of the programs that we are doing is hackathons.
Hackathons,
yes.
Okay.
So hackathons are basically there to equip young people with certain skills. We want them to develop some of the initiatives that they think are important to them, because we notice that young people have ideas, but then they do not know how to best
put them out. Yeah.
So we do carry out these hackathons basically to elevate their thinking and their creativity from within them, and also to push further their projects. Because now one of the hackathons that we had recently, it was more of ensuring that we accelerate the SDGs. So different young people came up trying to develop, because one of the things that was a group was making electricity from water hydrants. In other words,
from water hydrants.
Yes,
that's interesting.
That was very interesting, and we were really overwhelmed by how they could make electricity from that. But also with that, they were able to promote climate change. Because you notice that now with the recent rate at which the environment is changing, there has to be intervention. But so now these young people have come up with this project to ensure that at least our water bodies are able to be integrated well, and overpollution of the water hyacinths are eradicated through making electricity from that, but nonetheless also trying to make business from making electricity, because they are selling this electricity to the fishermen from within the island.
How reliable is that electricity that is made from water hyacinth in terms of sustainability? Can I rely, if I'm doing business, can I rely on that electricity for output?
Well, when it comes to water hyacinths, or obviously one of the things that you have to notice that these things, even though we say that they are going to move away, but they don't usually. So it's upon our intervention to always cater for these water hyacinths. We remove them. So one of their projects is that, so that they are able that whatever water hyacinths that they come up, they're able to integrate them and they're able to produce electricity from them. But how sustainable is that? Well, if they were here, they would obviously show you how the project runs.
Because Andrew, one of the biggest challenges that probably I would feel the youth face in terms of that is the public trust towards what they do in terms of it comes back to the sustainability I've been talking about, the viability of the projects that they really undertake. And, you know, somebody thinks that if I undertake this product, it's going to be risky for my business output at the end of the day. How are we addressing such matters, such that as a country, we build the confidence in the youth to know that they're actually the future? Because take a look at the innovators in the United States. A huge percentage of them, they're below 20 years, and they're making innovations that are running multi-billion companies.
So one of the things that you've noticed that among young people is usually that people do not have the trust in them. But then how are you going to know that you can really trust these young people if you don't involve them? So one of the things that we as the UN Association that we're trying to do is that when these young people come up with such programs, projects, we get to mentor them better and also connect them with other people doing the sum of the projects. Because you're going to see that now these young people that we had recently, we got some of the individuals that are more into tech. So in other words, they give them advice on how better they can run their programs and projects. And this has linked them to also participate in the East African Hackathon. And they indeed turned out to be victorious because they emerged the best. So I think mentoring young people is one of the things that we as the older generation can do, so that they can also collectively work hand in hand together. In other words, trying to promote intergenerational solidarity.
Intergenerational solidarity. That is beautiful. Well, now that brings me to another key discussion here when it comes to the youth in terms of priority projects. From your own experience, where is the main interest? If, for example, an initiative comes from anybody out there and it's empowering the youth, what are the priority areas they look into where youth should position themselves to be able to tap into some of these available funds? Okay,
so when it comes to youth, first of all, you have to know that what are the skills that these young people do have? And with that, you have to know how best can we mentor them. Because you're going to notice that you cannot put a youth who is more into health and then you put him into catering. It's usually difficult. So in other words, for us as the UN Association, we get to know that, okay, you as a youth, what do you do as a person? What's your passion? What do you want to know?
What do you want to know?
Because we have seen that some of the things that we have seen is that some young people have passion in health, and so we've been partnering with some of the organizations from within Uganda, like the Uganda Health Communication Alliance, and we are able to integrate them to know better how can you advocate for health. But besides advocating, how you as a young person can you benefit from it? You get? So in other words, you're trying to develop their skills. We are trying to ensure that they also come up with their own foundations. Because now we're running a program which is sponsored by the German Ministry of Foreign, whereby it's called the African United Nations Youth Delegate Program. So we are integrating our young people, the fellows, so that they can represent the voices of their young people. And one of the impact and the outcomes that we have seen is that these young people have been able to start up organizations. So we have one who's called Jemba. Jemba Michael Senkole. He graduated as a doctor.
He started it's a health-based organization?
He started, yes, a health one where he's doing a mobile clinic to different communities, especially the grassroots, whereby he's able to speak about creating advocacy about the health But nonetheless, now he's trying to also to partner with other organizations. In other words, linking him to not only do it as voluntarism, but also him being able to also elevate himself financially.
Financially.
Yes, exactly.
But don't you think we have where we succeed the most? Because I'm trying to take a look here that as much as we are empowering the youth, we ought to have an agenda in terms of what is the direction. Because these are the future people that are running this country's economy time to come. That what do we want Uganda to be known for in terms of service delivery? What those specific services we deliver. We export from manufacturing the commodities to services. Where do we seem to have more success? Okay, you may tell me that, okay, it's about what are you passionate about, but you may be passionate about something, but if it's not in line with what the country projects in terms of competitive advantage, because at the end of the day, we don't want to reach a scenario whereby we are competing with players that have been in the industry for thousands of years, and for us, we are just newcomers. But where do we seem to have a competitive advantages to prioritize youth to engage in if we are to have a say on the global market?
Okay, that's a very tricky question. So I think one of the things that we as Uganda we should be proud of is that our population, most of them are young people. Young people, and they're very energetic young people with great, brilliant minds. Exactly. So one of the things that I think that we can do is basically try not only, because you're going to see that most of these young people have really gone to school. They have really graduated, but then what they did instead, it does not align with the current job. With the current job, exactly. So that's one of the things that we're trying to advocate for under the projects of the African United Nations. So we are trying to reach to different policymakers, decision makers, and to tell them how, and we call for meaningfully aligning the education institutions with the current job market. Yes, so that young people not only go astray, besides them having only the knowledge or the white collar jobs that, as we might call it, but also you as a young person, you have a vocational thing that you can skill that you as an individual can indeed, besides you, if you are told you fail from having a white collar job, can you do this? Can you paint? Can you do weaving? Can you? Okay. Yeah. So what that I think that's one of an additive that we as Uganda we can be proud of, because we have our young people who are brilliant and have the energy, and if we at all integrate these vocational skills into them. How about if I told you studying a bachelor in economics and statistics, can't you do weaving? Can't you do painting? So I think that is one of the things that we as Uganda should be proud of, and that we should align them with the current institutions of learning and our young people. Wow. Yes. Beautiful. But now take a look at what part of the key issues youth have been facing in running business is compliance. We know the cost of compliance is quite huge, and before you know it, most of these enterprises remain as startups, and some youth have the skills to put out the commodity, but they don't have market for what they're selling. Yes. How are we handling such? Okay, now concerning that, that also brings me to a point that how do we make our young people to get the right networks? The right networks. The right networks. Because you're going to notice that, okay, I have a product, but whom should I contact when it comes to selling this? Okay. So in other words, we're in one of the projects that, as you forgive me, we have so many projects that we're running. It's fine. We are having one which is called the Uganda model of the United Nations. So in other words, it's basically one to do with diplomacy, lobbying, and networking. And when it comes to networking, it's really a good asset when it comes to young people. So integrating young people and teaching them how do you network, how do you use your network that you do have. If you're selling a product, you should start from the people close to you. The people close to you. Yes. Yeah. So that's one of the things that we try to integrate our young people with, using the networks and knowing and how to network and how to keep the networks. Most of the young people we know, most of our young people, we as young people, we are so much entitled. Yeah, but in other words, you don't owe anybody anything. So it's usually great if you know how to take the niche and then network, so that you as an individual, you can benefit from the networks you have, and the networks that you have link you up to other networks. So I think that's one of the things that success within our business was.
Wow, very interesting. Of course, we're discussing matters to do with the youth initiatives in Uganda and how impactful they are to the livelihood of the youth from the economic side, and how effectively the youth can participate and change a life and for the country Uganda and creating employment. Now, let's take a look at the youth. Constitute quite lots of people. We have women because they seem to be part of the vulnerable group amongst the youth. But anyway, we shall look at women later. But let's now zero down to persons with disabilities. To what degree have they been represented in terms of of the activities that you carry out?
Okay. So when it comes to human rights, you have to notice that having a human rights, it has to be centered on all groups of individuals. So that's how we come up when it comes to persons with disabilities. Usually we do hold dialogues of persons with disabilities, trying to know how best can we advocate for them and how best can they also advocate for themselves. One of the things that we did in the recent African United Nations Youth Delegate Program that happened, we went to in one of the suburbs from within Kampala in Karere, whereby we were able to talk with women and also with persons with disabilities. The saddest thing is that when we went there, we found a mother of two. And the mother was working with bottom squatting. It was really terrible and then the wounds, and then also the mother that woman was really working through. And one of the things that we as our young people did was to solicit money from within themselves. And they were able to buy for her a wheel on spot. So that's not only how we try to engage them, but also trying to elevate their voices. And now I think we shall be going back to see how best can we also try to involve them much further into some of the economic activities. And if of course they cannot do other economic activities, can we do some other vocational skills? Can we teach them? Can they, because there are so many skills that we can teach persons with disabilities, so that they can also do what? Get an earning, and so also to help their family members. Because you're going to notice that this woman had 2 children, and is also working in the market. You know what the markets of Uganda.
The markets of Uganda.
Yeah,
can
so
be really
we were like,
hectic.
Let's get her a will, and also try to teach the kids also on how they can help their mother better. Yes.
Very interesting. Now, this brings me to something here. Talking about these initiatives, what is the adaptability rate of this youth into this? Because we know for the fact that looking at the state of our economy, how it is standing at, majority of the mindset has shifted, and many youth look at get rich quick schemes as a way forward. Politics is one of the escape route of late for them to feel that, and in them they feel that if I'm going to start up something that is going to take me 5 years to reap the benefits, it's not worthy. How are we handling such psychological tortures among us then to focus? Because that will lose. That means if they get grants, they won't execute effectively, because they are like, let me test and see whether it will work. Because I think it's a huge challenge. How we address it?
Okay, so I think when it comes to that, I think it all goes back to the mindset. Mindset related initiatives. So in other words, under mindset, we usually do hold dialogues where we invite mentors and psychologists, whereby they also try to teach these young people, especially because we are working more into higher institutions, because we are having so many chapters from within the various universities from within Uganda. So these dialogues are there to chip in when it comes to mind change. How do you handle a situation? How do you handle situations? In other words, how sustainable is what you're going to do? We are like, if you're going to do anything out of anything, first think through. How sustainable is it? We as the UN Association, we advocate for sustainable development goals. So when it comes to trying to capacitate our young people with knowledge, usually we have that thing of mindset. Do you have to skip some levels to go somewhere? No, you don't have to. it's usually good if you follow certain steps in order for you to reach to where you want to be. Because if by skipping, then that means that there are certain steps that are vital that you're going to skip, and then which you would have needed when you are at the top. I think that's why some of these young people start up businesses, and at the end they are not sustainable and they end up failing. Yes.
Do you do a thorough follow-up when it comes to knowing that this is our project, this youth is our project? We need to stand with them all the way till we see their business hit break-even.
Okay, so as the UN Association, we don't think our young people are a project. No.
They're not projects.
We are the young people, obviously, and they themselves are we. Because we're going to notice that we were once young kids, and we're young people, but now we're no longer there. But how are we able to mentor them better so that they can also turn up into what we are now? So basically, we always connect with them because we also have an alumni group. So this alumni group comes up in a way that we are able to, not only you being part of the UN Association, that once your tenure is done, it's done. No. But you as a young people, you're part of us. It's a family. If at all we have an opportunity or internships, and you know that, okay, so-and-so did this and this, we have an opportunity for you. Can you take up space? Can you apply? So that's one of the things that we do. We link them to other agencies because being the UN Association of Uganda, we try to do partnerships with other organizations. And one of the things that we do is we usually network, we usually celebrate the UN Day, and we make these young people be part of the organizers.
Okay, part of the
so in the part of being an organizer, you learn how do you manage people.
Okay, managing people.
Yes, how do you manage people? How do you network? How do you build social capital? And how do you manage project? So those are some of the things that we try to integrate our young people. And then, in other words, we are linking them together and also staying in touch. Yes.
So how fast, in terms of, since you started the operations, how impactful has it been to youth livelihood? Okay,
it has been impactful. In other words, because when you notice that that some of the young people that we usually did, we had some are into big organizations. We have one who is into UNDP.
United Nations Development Program.
Yes, that one, and he's more of a youth officer, an innovation officer. So now that is one of the things that we try to integrate in our young people. In other words, to also capacitate themselves, but also we bring them back, and also to act as an empowerment, to elevate their young people that yes, I'm this up, but you can also be this up. Yes.
Well, interesting. I'm with Andrew Kalema. He's from the UN Association, and we are breaking down matters to do with youth initiatives to enhance their economic well-being. Well, for now, we're going to take a short break, but I will still returning, and this time around we shall be also take a look into the women, because they constitute a percentage amongst the youth population we have in the country.
Smart 24, driving business.
Rachel Rich. The Queen Cobra, the password of the money, the original no spare parts, the 11th commandment, the question and the answer.
Sis, I know you want money, but I'm also broke.
No, money is not an object. These days, Momo sorts me out anytime. In fact, my sister, let me also sort you out.
Really?
I've just sent you instructions on how to get a loan on Momo. I'm here for you. Can I borrow some chips?
When you need a loan, you've got MTN Momo. Wesotinge. Use the Momo app or dial *165*5# for all quick loans. Choose from the different loan options from our partners and get one that works for you. Together, we're unstoppable.
Tandika olugendo lw'enkyukakyuka y'obulamu bwo ng'osumulula ebitone by'olina. Wano tussessira ku bantu ssekinnoomu abakozesa obukugu n'ebitone byabwe eby'enjawulo okutandika emirimu gy'okubeezaawo obulamu bwabwe. Wulira emboozi zaabwe, zuula okusoomoozebwa kwe bayitamu, era oyiga engeri gye batambuliramu mu lugendo lw'obulamu bwabwe okutuuka ku buwanguzi. Funa wano amagezi agayinza okuyamba ku ngeri y'okuyingizaamu ssente okuyita mu by'emikono.
These holidays, you don't need to go far to find the best entertainment.
Have I got a surprise for you?
All you need to do is stay connected to DSTV.
I'm so excited.
Pick your moment of fun and share it with your family.
Oh, that's gorgeous, yeah.
Overpowering.
Pass the keeper, Jude Bellingham.
Pick the best stories and share them with your friends.
Max Verstappen wins.
Pick your moment to shine with the world's hottest stars.
Juventus get their goal. Alert!
Because it's your moment to hang out with the characters you love.
That's exactly what I do.
Whether you're at home or on the move, make it a holiday to remember.
This is the final round. Ain't gonna stop me now.
Because these holidays, it's your moment to enjoy the best entertainment. So get and stay connected to DSTV to enjoy every moment.
Smart 24, driving business.
Well, exactly 29 minutes past 9, and this is Smart Means Business. I'm Andrew Barije with my guest this morning, Andrew Kalema from the UN Association. And of course, we are discussing matters to do with youth economic empowerment with the various initiatives that are being set in place by the various organizations. Now, Andrew, we are still onto something very important in regards to the youth. I wanted us to take a look at the perspective of preparing these young people for, first of all, participating in regional markets and and from the continental perspective, because, well, not every person may have to exploit their talent in Uganda. Well, it's absurd if they can't, but at least if they are not in Uganda, where they are, let them be productive.
Yes.
Are we preparing them to that direction?
I think we as the UN Association, we've tried our best to see that our young people not only work into the national way of doing things, but also exposing them to the outside world. One of the program of the Uganda model of the United Nations, it basically links these young people to research. One of the under this is that we give them a thematic theme, whereby they have to research. Whereby these young people, we select a country and then we assign it to you. So in other words, you have to research what do they do in this country? How is the economic impact of this country? How are their health of concerns.
Yes.
So in other words, through this research, these young people are able to get knowledge about not only their national way of doing things, but also the international spaces. And we are glad that now we are doing a project of the UN Youth Delegate Program. So this delegate program, we got 20 young people. So these are 20 young people from within the 20 young people, the 2 that are selected are able to go into regional trainings. These regional trainings, we take them to various countries from within the partnering organizations, because currently this program is run by 6 countries. We have Kenya under the SDG Kenya Forum. We have the UN Association of Tanzania, the UN Association of Ethiopia, we have the one from Sudan and South Sudan. So through these regional trainings, these young people are able to diversify beyond what they do know. So in other words, we take them to other outside countries, they learn the cultures. They learn how do they do other businesses. What are some of the initiatives that other countries are doing differently from what they have. So in other words, from learning that, they not only learn how to do, but also they try to bring them back to Uganda and know and how they can not like exactly copy and paste, but how can they also elevate their ideas better concerning the context from within they belong to.
In our country. But you see, we've been having a challenge where I don't know whether we have really youth that after having this experience think about coming back to Uganda. Like I told you, with the various perceptions, economic downturns and all this, are they really willing? Because some of them, when they test the waters abroad there, they probably have, they touch on a few projects. Because when you look at the poverty statistics amongst the youth, it's quite alarming.
Yes, alarming. Very alarming.
In Uganda today.
Yes.
So, are they really willing to come back and put these skills to play? Because when they put these skills to play, they're going to employ other youth. So we shall be reducing on the unemployment gap.
So I think for me, when it comes to that, it's more of a personal thing. You're going to notice that some would like to work from there, and then they don't want to return.
So the patriotism bit now.
Yeah, so now that brings us to the patriotism bit. When it comes to patriotism, people tend to think that it's more of the government.
The government,
but
exactly.
patriotism itself is from within you, having the love for your country. So if at all some of the youth, because one of the things that we try to integrate these young people into know is that these skills that we have given to you, you also have to take them to other young people that need them.
Exactly.
If at all you've succeeded, can you put the ideas, the creativity that you got into someone else?
Into someone else,
Yeah, so that's why we always have dialogues whereby we bring in the alumni to explain and empower them. In other words, that this you can do better, and you can get a niche from what you do love. It's like using social media. Me personally, I did economics and statistics, but then how do I learn into communications of the UN Association? So it's through these things that you get to see the passion that you have. Me personally, I was so much enthusiastic about using social media. Now being part of the UN and the chapter from within Chambogo, I was able to I was called upon by the UN Association, like, okay, we see that you're good at social media. Can you handle this? So I was like, let me try to see if. But through my interaction, volunteering, I was able to equip myself with and learning more, capacitating more on how to indeed drive a communication strategy, what medium of platforms can I use, and how can I relate with young people when it comes to networking and communication. So here I am, a person who did economics and statistics.
Is a communications
person from within UN.
Very interesting. Now, let's talk about the issue of the women. How are they represented? Because they seem to be left out so many times in this country.
Okay, now that brings us to gender equality.
Yeah.
So with the current spaces that we have, you can't do anything without leaving women behind.
Exactly.
We are on to an advocacy whereby women should take center stage at each and everything that we do. In one of the chapters from within our university institutions, we tend to them, yes, if you're having a cabinet, how inclusive is it? Does it have a person with disabilities? Does it have an aspect of women and men inclusive? So in other words, we have seen that most of the chapters that we have, women are indeed the presidents, they are leading. And one of the chapters from within Makerere University, we have a member who is called Kiriza Gold, and now is on to the vice president of the students.
The students.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So that's one of the ways that we are trying to capacitate and equip our young people, especially the women, to elevate their voices and also to come out from their comfort zones. Most of the women think that, no, this is certain, when it comes to speaking, no, it's the men that are supposed to do
to do that. Yeah.
Yes, but also you as a woman, you can lead an entity. We have seen in Uganda how is the vice, the speaker. So that's one of the things that we try to do, is that we try to empower our young females to better represent themselves and to better also stand out from the crowd.
Well, that's quite interesting. Now, that brings me to some other discussion here in line still with the youth. Take a look at, do you find the economic atmosphere in Uganda favoring those initiatives? Because like I was discussing something in line with the inflation bit of it, and you see our youth are being empowered to get the skills to produce in a market that is, a bit tricky and some kind of way. They may have the market, but now we are zeroing it down to the production costs they incur. And some of them, since they haven't been doing business for some time, they might find this frustrating. Do you work with the government to see how this can be? Because And inflation is inflation anyway. Sometimes there are factors where it's unnecessary. But then how do you make the youth get to operate and deal with such a situation?
Okay. So now we all know that when it comes to the Sustainable Development Goals, the Sustainable Development Goals, it's under the office of the Prime Minister. The mandate is by the Prime Minister. So we try to connect with the grassroots from within, because we notice that some of our young people, they do have foundations, they do have initiatives from within their grassroots. So we try to take it up as an entry point for our young people. In other words, if at all we can give them startup, at times we try to, we like, okay, come up with a project. If you have a project, give us a work plan. How do you intend to do it? So in other words, we are not only,
the nitty-gritties of everything you want to do.
Yes, in other words, a young person is learning on how to do project management and how to do a budget. And then with that, if you have, because we are not there to spoon feed. No, that's not how it goes.
Absolutely.
But then, let's say you have 10,000. This is just 10,000 you have. Then you need, let me say, 50,000. Then so we are like, okay, you come out, you bring that 10,000, and we also what we as the UN Association, if we at all we can contribute. We can also contribute something, and then we also develop yourself, but not only you, but also capacitate other young people behind you.
Okay.
Yes.
Very interesting in that line. Now, of course, as we keep on this discussion, we want to understand what are some of the challenges faced in scaling up youth entrepreneurship and employment programs in Uganda.
Okay. So now, one of the challenges that we have found out about young people are so much entitled. And also young people with a mindset set. Most of the young people, they tend to think that the only good employment is by having white-collar jobs.
White-collar jobs.
But the solution is not only white-collar jobs. You're going to find that a person who sits in an office, a person who is painting, earns more money compared to that. So in other words, we are trying to tell them to have a balance of having a vocational training skill and then this higher education. So linking them together, if at all you know how to paint, and then you also bring in your project management or any other training that you did, let's say accounting. So in other words, if at all accounting fails, then your painting skill is going to elevate you. So now imagine if you're integrating into the accounting and the painting together. See how you start up something from both schooling and the vocational skill that you do have.
Okay.
Yes.
And maybe something I want to talk about, it's in line with the funding space. You know, Uganda, we're in a zone that is quite tricky. Actually, the entire East African bloc, when it comes to, I mean, recently we survived the grey list. Kenya is under review right now. And, well, you find that sometimes having these donations, grants in this space can be a little bit hectic, harder. Most especially if you're in this space, the atmosphere of the East African atmosphere. Does that in any way affect your operations?
Okay. Just as my boss usually says that we are professional beggars. But then, but then when it comes to that, we have to also put in an aspect of integrity.
Integrity.
If at all they have given you a grant, how are you going to use it? Because usually those grants, they also come with you having a salary from within that grant.
A salary?
Yes, usually some of the grants come with a salary. But then if you're going to use that grant that you've gotten and then you eat the whole of it without doing what you are supposed to function, you were supposed to do.
Okay.
So basically it goes down to the integrity and the mindset and the love towards what one is doing. If at all you are given that grant to elevate young people's voices, to train young people when it comes to skilling, why don't you use it? Because with that grant, if at all it comes out successful, then that gives space for you to get another grant.
Okay.
So it also goes upon to the behavior of some of the people that usually do get this grant. So usually it's usually good if we have integrity and also have a good mindset and also have a passion towards a greater cause.
Okay.
Yes.
That's quite interesting. Now, of course, for Uganda's perspective here, I wanted us to look into, if we are to look at the local context when it comes to investing.
Yes.
You know, where do we, where is the major focus? Do we have agriculture in the picture? Since we know it's the backbone of Uganda's economy, do we really enforce, okay, not enforcing really necessarily, but advocate to see youth participate in this heavily?
Okay, so now having that brings us to the indigenous. Way. So now Uganda is indigenous when it comes to agriculture.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to that, we notice that some people or some young people are into agriculture. But then how do we integrate them from not only doing agriculture, but how do they also earn a living from that? We have a young person from within the hackathon that we had that is teaching fellow young people to do smart agriculture, smart farming. Okay. If you at all have a small portion of land or from within your home area, can you do some vegetables around your place? So in other words, that brings us to teaching young people to also learn some of the indigenous things that their countries do. Because you're going to notice that each one of us has a skill that we don't know that we do have.
Absolutely.
But then we have to elevate it. We have to echo it out. That's one of the things that we do. Is that okay? You have a passion, let's say in farming. Then we're like, okay, since you're into farming, let's link you up. So we usually work up with some of the stakeholders and try to ensure that okay, in case of this, you're able to be mentored. And then we give you a sense of direction on how to do that, what you're supposed to do, yes.
Well, now that brings me to the aspect of, so far with since you started the activities, how far have you reached in terms of impacting livelihoods, and what do you see in the future? What do you project, and what should this mean to the youth out there?
Okay, so when it comes to that, because now we recently celebrated our 25th years anniversary. Yes, so with that, we have seen that we have impacted more 1,000 young people, and then whereby thousands of young people. So in Uganda, can you imagine? Whereby you reach somewhere and then someone's like, hey, I know you, I was part of this all the UN Association of Uganda, and now I'm into this. So it's working out for them. So I think through these things of networking and engagement that we have really been doing and integrating young people into, it has been significant in the way that at times when you're doing it now, right now you might think that it's not working. But then after you're done with it, you're going to. We had a testament of one of the young people. I won't mention the name, okay. But then she went to volunteer into some of the local government somewhere within Uganda. And then when you reach there, he was like, these people do not even know how to present.
Oh, and she had learned the skills from...
And then she was like, okay, I learned, I did present to these seniors that we call seniors, and they were all overwhelmed, and some of the things that I was presenting, they had no clue about it. So usually the capacitation that we usually do give these young people is usually realized after you're done with us, and then you take up spaces somewhere else. So usually we always at times keep in close connection with them so that they do empower other people as usual.
Wow.
Yes.
So you plan to, I mean, because we take a look at the unemployment rate amongst the youth in Uganda.
Yes.
To what degree are we trying to adjust that in terms of percentage-wise? If it's standing at 75%, where do we see this in 10 years from now?
And when it comes to 10 years now,
or 5 years from now, okay.
You cannot predict. But then, for me, for us, what we push for is that at least some of the young people their focus should not be on being employed. But their focus should be on creating your own jobs, startups.
Yeah.
So basically, we are teaching them on how to start up their own ventures, to manage them, and to also have a love towards what they do.
You know, recently there was a report, I was having a report on how African startups and the issue of lack of funding. And, you know, some of these youth might need the security that, okay, that guarantee that, okay, how, because a startup might take years for it to start really having the benefit in terms of, so we've seen startups in Africa cut staff, change business models. So how are we providing this assurance to these people that, okay, come, this fund is available, we are all the way with you throughout till maybe probably you break even.
Yes.
What is that guarantee for the youth in that line? Because that's their fear.
So now, when it comes to that, the guarantee that we usually do give to our young people is that you do not have to come when you're so over, how should I say it? Very optimistic, too optimistic.
Or too expectant.
Or too expectant. In anything that you do, you always have to expect a setback. But if you get that setback, you always have to have the resilience to always get back on top.
Okay, in a scenario whereby probably a startup didn't really make an incredible loss, is there a fallback position?
Because we usually don't give room for falling back.
It's gone.
For that it's gone, no. Because we are with you. Once we start with you when it comes to any startup, we usually do encourage and keep heads up with them. If at all they go into some, let's say, setback, we advise. We advise, and also usually we don't encourage them being alone, having a startup, but we usually link them up with some of the organizations that have been into that business.
What that's specific business you're doing?
Okay, exactly. Yes. So that's what we try to do, so that you do not clash alone and you do not fall back alone.
Because that's the worry for
yes. Yeah. So we usually do partner. That we give them connections, because one of the things that we do is partnerships. Okay. Yeah, you can't just give a young person a startup and then you don't give him, he or she, a mentor or someone to look up or to guide them on how to run their projects.
Well, now maybe finally, as we wind up, you've now here you're going to use your travel experience. I know you've encountered youths from Europe, the USA, Asia, Africa. I mean, what are those things that you feel our youths should learn from those youths?
Okay, so I think young people, what you have to know is that when you're doing each and everything, especially from my travels, I've noticed that some our young people do have a generation divide. Usually, a generation divide.
Very important point.
Yeah, so they do not want to be advised. You're going to say that you're going to tell a young person, why are you putting on a tie and you're not tucking in? And then he's going to get mad. Okay. So, but then through my interactions, I've seen that the intergenerational solidarity that they're having from within the old and the young, that has contributed significantly to these young people's achievements. But then
that is in other countries,
in other continents. So when it comes to the one from within Uganda, I would really encourage our young people to always have always have a mentor. Someone that you always look up to, and that mentor should also be willing to help you. So I think that's one of the things that we are lacking, because you're going to notice that a young person is going to start up an ice cream business, but then minus having someone to look up for, to give them direction on how to handle such and such.
The ice cream business.
Yes, exactly.
You mentioned about intergenerational solidarity. Briefly hint on that and how you think it can be impactful to youths in Uganda.
Okay, so when it comes to intergenerational solidarity, you know that the older generations, they have been where you are now. So they have accumulated a lot of knowledge. They have seen what it takes if you fall back.
Yeah.
They have seen how to manage networks. They have seen how to handle projects. They have seen how to do a work plan.
Yeah.
So if at all these young people focus and come together with the old generations, and also that brings us also, we take it back to the older generations. How you're going to find that most of the older generations, they do not want to interact with the young people. They're like, young people are chaotic.
So do we have that divide deep in Uganda here?
I think it's there, but then we only have to address it.
Okay.
And see that at least our young people, it's through the dialogues that at least we need to come to a common consensus, so that young people are able to interact meaningfully, respectfully with their older generation.
Because we seem to be secretive here, most especially when it comes to knowing something that has great commercial gains.
Yes.
And this is due to greed, because we want to have all the resources.
Yes, and I think this is from my own personal perspective. I think some of the older people think that if they do share knowledge with the young people, these young people, with the energy and the resilience that they have, they will skyrocket. Yes, so I think that's one of the things that is.
Wow, very interesting. It's very amazing how you find that some of the barriers limited to the youth may not be of their making, but there are factors which surround them. Yeah. All right, that brings us to the end of today's discussion. My guest this morning has been Andrew Kalema, is the spokesperson of the UN Association in Uganda, and we've been breaking down matters to do with the youth livelihood, different youth initiatives that are in purposed, of course, to put youth together, most especially from the economic perspective. Well, thanks for being part of today's episode. Till tomorrow, have yourselves a wonderful day.